Welcome to the Eclectic Gamers Podcast. Today is Sunday, October 17th. This is episode 152. I'm Tony.
I'm Dennis. We got a few items.
Yes, there are items. They exist.
But, before we go into said items, we go into said intro.
The intro. Mm-hmm. This is the part where we talk about ourselves and everybody hits the fast forward button. So,
unless we stick to pinball and video games in the intro, in which case they listen with, I was going to say bated breath, but they can't be talking because we're talking.
Yeah.
They listen astutely. There we
go. Ooh.
You've been playing a new game.
I've been playing a new game. That I can't remember the name of, but that's okay.
It's like Landlords of Legolas.
Yeah. What is it called?
I haven't installed it yet.
It's been addictive. It's a little like roguelike slot machine game that our friend Eric sent me, and it's actually kind of addictive. I should have been playing Final Fantasy 14, but I was playing this instead.
You have let your fantasy slide.
I know, it's terrible. Well, that's because of work. I have actually really let my Final Fantasy playing slide. I've only been playing like in the mornings for a little bit.
I saw an article talking about the number of players in Final Fantasy 14 now, and that Final Fantasy 14 has made them more money than any other Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I did see that, which is, good for them. They made a good game.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
They remade a game into a good game.
Yes. They definitely took a bad game and fixed it and made it work. So.
And did it better than anyone. Like No Man's Sky, people can talk about how good that is now. It will never recover like Final Fantasy 14 recovered.
No, there's no way it'll recover that.
No.
Not to that level.
No.
It'll be...
Hashtag second fiddle.
It's third or fourth fiddle, but it's still pretty impressive. I'm just getting stuff lined out and ready for Chicago in 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks.
Not quite, about a week and a half. Because we're going up on Wednesday.
I think that is correct.
Yeah. The 27th is when we'll leave. So I've just been kind of getting stuff lined up.
I heard the Stern tour got canceled.
Did it?
It turned into a virtual tour because they're worried about all these unvaccinated expo attendees giving everyone COVID.
And they are far enough behind on production right now. They can't run that risk.
Yes. Of course, I wasn't signed up for that.
I wasn't either. So technically, I'm not signed up for anything because I went to pre-purchase my tickets one day, but I was doing it while I was at work, and I got sidetracked doing something else.
You were the one who even asked me about what options we were taking.
And that was the day I was going to do it, and then I got sidetracked, and I never went back to it, so I'm going to have to buy tickets at the door.
The door.
I'm a plebe. I'm a filthy plebe. A filthy plebe. But that's okay.
You played in the Pizza West tournament yesterday.
I played in the Pizza West tournament. Played is a really strong word. I was present. I'm going to go with I was present for the Pizza West tournament because I was very badly beaten yesterday.
It had been my hopes that everyone was going to be gone to District 82 where they've been doing a whole bunch of tournaments this weekend.
Yeah.
Now, Carrie Wing is out there.
Yeah.
Playing and Adam McKinney and Sunshine, they're all out there. I'm like, okay, but everyone else was still here.
Yeah, no, there were 20 players.
Yeah, I think 22 was our count, which was pretty high for Pizza West since post-pandemic.
Yeah, no, it was a good time.
So it was a 3-strike instead of a 4 because of the volume, which was smart.
Yeah.
I think I tied at 7th is when I was eliminated. So
I got last. I was tied for last.
It was
3 and out. It was rough. But I had fun, so that's okay.
Yeah. And rumor mill is next month could be maybe 2 different game change-outs there. For the listeners that don't know, we've actually, for the last 3 of these, we've had the exact same lineup, which, historically speaking, was very unusual.
Yeah.
To not have a turn of games, at least one. So that'll be interesting. Now, also, though, afterwards, you got to play Godzilla.
I did.
The Pro model.
I got to play Godzilla Pro, and it's very enjoyable. I would say of all of the new games that I didn't get a chance to play due to the pandemic and everything up until just recently, it's the best. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it the most.
I went after and played. I played a game on it and then did a split flipper on 2 games on it. And yeah, shoots great, like we would expect from Elwyn. I got into in the split flipper, we were able to activate the main multi-ball, and get the Blue Oyster Cult Godzilla song going. We were ready to unleash Mechagodzilla and lost our last ball at that point. I don't think the city rules are really integrated yet. We were able to choose the city and go to New York because New York needed a Godzilla lesson. And the screen integration was a lot of fun with all the little old style Toho clips and everything. So it's too bad the prices went up so much.
I mean that's the heartbreaking thing is it's just so expensive.
But it was nice to know that that the Pro model is a fun model.
So it is. It's very much.
I figured as much, but and that Newton ball magnet thing gets a lot of use.
It does.
Yeah, that was
pretty cool.
I think my understanding is it must get used more on the Pro, even because on the Premium and LEs you go up into the building to bring it down, and that magnet got used a lot for the like horseshoe shots and stuff that this one has to rely on. So
right.
So that's pretty interesting too. Well, that part transitions into my intro. So besides that and the tournament, because my birthday was last weekend, I did get a few more video games. So I actually I've played 4 new games since our last episode. One I started, was like a Games with Gold. So I've had it for a while, called Arrow, which is like a rail shooter rhythm game that uses electronic tracks. So it's gotten pretty hard. I don't know when I'll go back to it. But I think I'm halfway through it, or maybe a little over halfway through it. And then I got about a half dozen games for my birthday, and I've started 3 of them. So I started a game called Observer. I added that to my list because the main character is voiced by Rutger Hauer. The game setting is you're basically a detective in the future. Think Blade Runner almost, except I'm not clear that there are going to be any replicants, and Rutger Hauer is the detective. Unfortunately, I think it's like do one take. He's mumbling his lines. It's hard to hear him. I don't know if he was really sick before he passed away or not, but it's giving me, it's reminding me of like Marlon Brando lines at the end and how he just didn't try, or how Orson Welles was. Anyway, so I started that. I got a game called Aliens Fireteam Elite. I think this is actually designed to be a co-op game where you basically just fight, do objectives, and not really telling a story. You're just going and doing stuff. I've played a level of that. It actually got pretty hard. I played with just some bots because I don't know how popular that game is. I hadn't heard of it, but I saw Aliens and I thought, whoosh, that's my alien sound. So I thought I better get it. And then a game quite well, Hades.
Yes.
And that's the one I've been putting the most time in.
It's because it's the most fun.
Because, it's I would say it is the best roguelike. And I'm not a huge roguelike fan. It's the best one I have played since Binding of Isaac, and I would actually say this is better than Binding of Isaac.
Yes, I would agree with you.
I think they have better designed the incentives to keep trying and making it feel like you're making progress, incrementally improving your character. And then the voicing and the story stuff that they've got is pretty deep. I'm surprised that I'm not hearing like a bunch of repeat stuff. So anyway, that's what I've been doing.
That game, Luck Be a Landlord.
Oh, what a clever little song tie-in.
It's Luck Be a Landlord. It's been fun. Like I said, I've spent a lot of time on it.
Mm. Well, we're going to now spend maybe not a lot of time, but we got some time to spend on pinball. So I have 3 main areas to focus on. The first one is Stern Pinball just recently announced that they have hired a new president, and that is someone named Seth Davis. I do have a link in the show notes to the Stern Pinball news announcement. So, my understanding is the way this has been working is Stern hasn't had an independent president. This isn't a board president. This is an executive position. So, what's happened is Gary Stern he's still the chairman of the board of directors, and he's also still the CEO of the company. However, Seth is now assuming some of his duties and will be titled president, and Seth will report to Gary. I wasn't familiar with this because in my nonprofit world, presidents is a board position. So I had to do some research because I don't really know corporate structures. Apparently, president being second in command in the staff hierarchy is a common corporate strategy, but smaller companies often have that duty rolled in with CEO, which clearly was what Stern was doing.
Correct.
But now has carved it out. So what's been catching a lot of people's eyes is, because Seth isn't very old. Seth's my age. He's 43. He spent 13 years at Disney, and he was on the executive team responsible for the subscription-based streaming services, Disney Plus and ESPN Plus. So, my question to you would be, what are your thoughts on what this means for Stern Pinball? Because I'll tell you what a lot of the community thinks, and that is that maybe we'll get lucky and this just means DLC. But maybe we won't get lucky, and we're going to see Raw Thrills, Big Buck Hunter, $40 a month subscription stuff.
Well, that's my fear.
Or maybe it's somewhere in between.
I think if you bring in somebody who spent that many years working on one style of project, it's because you want the experience with that style of system, in my opinion. So I think it's something to be afraid of. Because I know when I went and played Godzilla, all the Kinect stuff was all over it, and I didn't sign up. I'm not a Stern Insider, or Stern Pinball.
Stern Pinball Insider Connected, I think is the full name of it. And I am signed up, but because I went in and I was like, I didn't have it loaded on my phone ahead of time, and I was like, I started to go to the site, and it was just like, no. This is taking too long. I'm afraid someone else is going to go up to the game and put money in. And I'm sitting there not starting it. So if anyone was waiting behind me, I wasn't sure because it's nubs, it's crowded.
Yeah.
That I was going to look like I was being a a-hole, not starting my game, but sitting there playing with my phone. So had I thought about it, I would have had the QR code like loaded as a photo or something on my phone and ready to go. But I should
sign up. It would make sense with how much it's going to be.
It's going to be everywhere.
Around. But
the future.
And as it becomes the future, and that's what they concentrate on. And then I've got to, I have my special icon and my Stern Meebo that I have to create. And I'll have to buy cosmetics for. In addition to the free cosmetics that'll come with my $14.99 a month subscription fee to be part of the Stern Insider thing. And
well, it's free for now.
For now,
at least,
until they get everything, until they get it's
a charging to be able to for the players. I personally think would be a tremendous mistake. I think you'll just see a huge fall off in use because to a lot of people, who cares? Because you'll always need the option if you're going to operate to allow people to play without signing in. So
right.
So where I think they may try and make their money would be on the operators, but they have to make it a big enough incentive that the operators think is worth the money. And currently, it's not there yet. So. Maybe in the future.
Well, then maybe if they make it so if you're the special Stern Insider, you can scan your QR code and you can just key up games and play, and then they'll reimburse the operators at a later date for the play time, and it just goes onto your Stern account.
Well, but some of the stuff that people have been wondering about, and maybe with Seth coming on board is, are they going to maybe... One of the things some people have asked about is different way, like being able to start particular modes as a game and say, hey, that's going to be an added rule thing. And it's going to be DLC and you're going to pay for it if you want to do it. If you want to put it on your home game or if the operator for some reason wants to put it on the operator game. So there's some of that stuff. And I don't know. I point to Raw Thrills because I know that they do this for Big Buck Hunter. There's a whole thing though, because the tournament system's all integrated. It's like if you want to play in a Big Buck Hunter and have your score count to the tournament, you drop $3 on the location. One of those dollars goes back to Raw Thrills. They also have it set up in such a way, I believe, allegedly, that they get a share of the coin drop. The company gets a share of the coin drop. and the system keeps track of this stuff. And the operators that want to participate in this, and this has been a barrier to a lot of people in terms of not getting new big buck hunters for their home, is the only way to integrate online is to pay the subscription fee. And the subscription fee is $40 per month, which is huge. Now, I'm going to get off on a rant here, but I'm going to rant a little bit because I'm seeing this more and more with pinball. And look, I know pinball is expensive compared to a lot of home entertainment options. And lately it's gotten really expensive. To me, and this is my curmudgeonly coming from video game perspective, this idea that you can just like charge hundreds of dollars for shareware level programming is beyond me, completely beyond me. Because here's the thing. Here's the fundamental difference. I get the argument. We can't sell to as many people. Okay, fair enough. But here's the thing. The dude sitting at home who makes a phone game has to sell it for $2.99 no matter, and has no knowledge if he's going to sell any copies or not.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and the reason I do that comparison is the program, like the rules. Pinball's not, we talk about depth in pinball, and pinball is deeper than it has ever been before. It's not video game deep at all. And you can tell this modern video game. Right. You can tell this by how few people are programming it. They're still pretty small teams. Those teams get tons. If those were video game programmers with 1 to 3 people working on them, those are the ones that get like the focus studies by IGN going, look at how incredible this game with no one working on it is. Cuphead was like that.
Yeah.
Look at how amazing Cuphead is. This is a baby team, just an itty bitty baby team. And they don't know how it took them years. And it's like they chuck it out there at $60 and they hope for the best. There's no they had no guaranteed money, is my point. I think so. To me, the thing is, you can do DLC, and I would rather it be DLC than subscription. That's the first thing. Like paying for individual added work for added money. We already had that debate in video games. So the DLC won, and I'm fine with it winning in pinball because it's optional. And obviously, a subscription would most likely remain optional too. It's just they might do better if they're selling the individual, like, here, you're in your Stern Connected account and you have your game tied to you, and now you can buy these new rules and new deals. Kind of like what Multimorphic does with you can go and you can buy the individual software packages and install them if you've got the proper play fields.
Right.
Now, the question is, at what price point can you get away with that? We know that the Multimorphic stuff's a few $100s usually, like a couple hundred on up. Maybe that's the sweet spot, but it depends. With Multimorphic, I can go and buy a whole new game using the existing playfield. I don't think you can charge $200 to be able to play the mini wizard modes as a separate, option. I'm not quite sure that's there. if it was a whole new rule set, but you see, that reminds me of Deep Root. And remember, they had talked about subscription service on their site, and one of the things they talked about even before that was, like with interviews with Steve Bowden, there was the talk about, well, we could release a rule set for Raza and then a whole new rule set for Raza and I'm like, to me, it was always, you could, but how much money can you make investing your programmer in doing all this stuff over and over? Yeah. It didn't make any sense to me. Like, people don't take video games and redo the rule sets.
Right. How many people playing pinball are going to want to not ever really quite know what rule set they have when they sit down to a pinball machine?
So, and that's where, like, having dramatically different rules, I just don't think there's a market for that. At that point, I think people would be like, yeah, but I'd rather have dramatically different rules and a dramatically different layout at the same time. And just have, what we call a new game. What we in the industry call a game.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Just something simple.
My guess here, tying it back to Seth Davis is, and this is, my total guess. So obviously Gary, he's in his 70s. He'd already stepped back some stuff before this, so he's going to be continuing to step back. My thought is, this is to train Seth up to become the CEO. So they created the president position. I bet once Gary decides he's not going to be, and my next guess is Gary will give up CEO next and stay chairman of the board. And Seth will become CEO. The president position will be eliminated. Alternatively, they could keep the president position and just constantly kind of use that as a sort of a succession planning thing. I know some people are upset that George Gomez wasn't made president. There's no reason to be upset about that because we have no idea if he wanted it.
Yeah.
So I think some people were just surprised they weren't trying to promote from within. And it's like, well, but who? Yeah, and you have to factor in if they want it or not. I know computer programmers who either tried or know that they don't want to do management. They want to stay making code. They don't want to be bossing people around. George Gomez might like working with the design teams and not want to do all the other sales and, going out to all these shows and who knows? So some people, I think, immediately jumped to that. Oh, going outside and hiring Seth is a slight to everyone at Stern. And it's like, I don't know enough to be able to claim that.
Right. I mean, they could have just simply wanted an administration specialist, which is something they don't really have at Stern.
So we'll just have to see. But yeah, my main thought is that, this is mostly succession planning work. It is possible, given Seth's background, that they're bringing him in because of the connected, and maybe that does mean subscription stuff like Disney Plus. But we will have to wait and see.
Have to see what happens.
Next topic, but still sticking in the realm of Stern, is they've announced a new pinball machine. Yay! This happened this last week.
Yeah.
So Jurassic Park Pin, because it's one of the pins, which is confusing to say. But
yeah.
So for those that are not familiar, the pins are the home version games, or I think on the Stern website it calls them affordable home games. And then you can, there's a Star Wars version.
Right.
There's now this Jurassic Park version. And they've done pins for a while of varying approaches. So if you go way back to the Transformers pin and stuff, they were much more toy-like and smaller. And now the current iteration of the pins are more, they moved it more in the direction of commercial games without going commercial game. So I do have a link in the show notes to the game trailer. I do want to note there is also a video for those that are interested. I don't have a link to it, but there is also a feature video that basically walks through all the rules of the game. So just some quick stats or data points on this. So the MSRP for the game is $4,599. Game features, it does have a captive ball that has, the main toy is a T-Rex head. The T-Rex head doesn't eat the balls, but it does spit them back out, at least for the multi-ball. It has a jump ramp. I believe the left ramp actually has a gap, and so the ball can either drop back into the pop section or it can actually jump over. And it does have 2 spinners on the game, and the art is hand-drawn. As noted, as a home version, this does not have coin mechs in it. It's not designed for route. It's designed for home customers. Jack Danger is credited with doing the playfield design. Mechanics are credited to Robert Blakeman. Jerry Thompson did the sound. He does a lot of sound for Stern. And then, if I hope I say his name right, Wyson Cheng handled software for it. So overall, from what I have read online, the buzz has been very positive towards the layout. If I were to summarize, and people hadn't played it yet, but if I were to summarize the general thoughts, the general consensus, it is, this is the best looking pin layout of any of them. Looking at it, I would agree.
Yeah.
I think it looks like it's a fun shooter. Now, as a reminder for people, Star Wars the Pin, the latest one they still make, was also really well received for its layout. That it's a fun pin. I've still not had a chance to play it. And they had modified that. When you look at the Star Wars pin, I feel you can still see Spider-Man home game DNA in it.
Yeah.
But they moved it from that. This feels much fresher than that. This looks like essentially a wholly new layout. And actually, again, I don't have a link on it, but if you're going to YouTube, if you want to search for Travis Murray's a pinball podcast, he walks through the trailer or the feature video, one of them, and talks about the shots and what he likes and what he doesn't, which some of you, he's a big tournament player, so some of you might be interested in that. My thoughts are, and I sent a message to Jack and congratulated him because this is his first game and he's really excited.
Yeah.
And which makes sense. He should be. I think that the T-Rex head is great. Like, that's going to be the attention grabber. And the fact that it does have ball interaction, I mean, that's more than the Pro had. The Pro's head didn't do anything. Yeah. It was just a static thing. This, okay, yeah, it doesn't eat the ball, but it spits it back out. That's something. The captive ball, it's okay. They have it right next to the right ramp, so the captive ball is more like, oops, you bricked your shot. Maybe you get to hit that and get a hurry up going, I think is what it does. It's got some good, in my opinion, good old school solid state style rules to it. So, in terms of how some of the scoring works, like getting temporary multiplier to the playfield and things like that. And fan layout, but again, for these home style pins, I think doing a fan layout makes a lot of sense. You play it safe. Fan layouts almost always shoot well. And again, we need to remember that this pin, being the pin, is targeting a different group than what we would be classified as. Like,
right.
Pinball collectors don't normally look at pins. There are exceptions, but they don't normally look at the pin line because it's home grade. It's the playfield and cabinet are MDF. That bothers some people. Size wise, it's essentially the dimension. Playfield dimensions, I believe, are standard to any other playfield Stern would do. But the rules, like, I don't expect there to be unless there's a bug. I don't expect there to be any code updates because you wouldn't expect a home person to do code updates. There's no Stern Insider connected integration to this. And some have said they felt this is deep, maybe for a pin, but the rules are pretty much shoot the 3 shots and then you have your, all easy to understand, which again makes sense for the target audience. The thing is, I don't know how well home pins sell. Like, I heard someone say that their understanding of Star Wars the Pin sold great, which could explain why Stern greenlit doing a Jurassic Park one. And incidentally, great theme idea.
Yes.
For a home audience, people that might not normally buy pinballs. From the typical pinball distributors, my understanding is the pins do not sell well at all. But again, their market's different. Like, you could have great home pin sales and they're selling them straight through Stern's website, or if they have arrangement with Costco or whatnot, I don't know. I think the biggest issue that I see is, I know this will come as a total shock to you, Tony, it's the price. So I mean, I'm not aware of there really being discount on this. I think I heard one distributor was selling them at MSRP, but covering the shipping to your door. I had heard a report that some distributors were looking at actually charging more than MSRP on these. And I don't know if that's because they expect homeowners not to know any better or
that's weird.
And they're trying to, if they could take some stock and have it available as something, hey, we can promise we'll get this to you before Christmas. I don't know. I think we're in a world now where it's very difficult to charge more than MSRP when it's not an LE game. But I mean, here's my argument, and it's been a while since I went around, and I know there's high end stuff, there's ranges and stuff, but if this isn't new to the Jurassic Park pin. I think I said these same things with Star Wars, except now the price is a little higher now. Even, I mean, I think it's the same price as Star Wars, but prices have gone up over time.
Right.
So my issue is, when I think about a game room, and I think, like, let's say I just have this big basement and I just want to have a game room, and I'm not a pinball person. I'm just a game room person. And I'm thinking you're talking like a multi-arcade cabinet, a foosball table, air hockey, billiards, dartboard. This is like the most expensive of all of that.
It is.
I mean, I know they're like high-end pool tables and stuff, but I mean, like, you can get a full-size pool table for less than this new. And everything, I think I checked, because I think I checked it because I was like, am I right or am I just making crap up? Because sometimes I just make up stuff because it sounds good. I know for sure you can get foosball less, you can get air hockey less, you can get arcade games, multi or old or new or whatever. Setting aside like fancy pants, raw thrill stuff. Dartboards, of course, are less. TV for the game room, like, and seats, less. It's like, so it's just so expensive that I don't know. I mean, obviously there are people that are of means and that's not going to be a big deal. It's just, if I were I'm trying to put myself in the position of, because I don't know if I ever discussed this or not before, but so my pinball room that I have here downstairs, I have 7 pinball machines in it. That was not the original plan. When I cleaned out that room and repainted it, my plan was to make it a game room, and I was going to have a mix of stuff. So at the time, I owned like 3 or 4 pinball machines. But my thought was, well, I could put in a multicade. I could have like the virtual pin in there, maybe 1 or 2 other pinball machines. I was going to have a TV down there with a couch and an air hockey table. Now, dimensionally, that did not all work out well. No. And I never got all that in there. And then ultimately I decided pinball was fun enough to just have it be all pinball. And most of that other stuff is now either sold or in the garage. I had a poker table. That's also less, one of those where you could flip it over and play cards. That's in the garage now. So my point is that this is just, and part of it's hard for me because I've been in pinball so long. I bought my first new in-box game in 2015. It was $200 more than this to my door.
Yeah.
And again, some of this is just how pricey. We already talked about when we talked about Godzilla on the prior episode, just about how much more. They raised it $700. And back when I bought my Star Trek, I was like, in my mind, I was like, I don't think I'll ever pay over $5,000 for a pinball machine. And now it's like, if you want something new, you will.
That's a requirement at this point.
I have before, and my TNA was more, but that's the only one I ever went that high on. And it's like, so I don't know. In fact, on Pinside, I saw some of the discussion about this was oriented around there is almost a $2,000 difference now. That's another thing to remember. There is a pretty big gap. It was different when like Star Wars, the pin was like 100 less than this or 200 less, but the pros hadn't gone up $700 yet either. And that range was closer to 1,000 to 1,500 ish. And now it's more like 16 to 2,000. And so normally I would say that would be a big help. And I've seen some people on Pinside go, I am really considering this because it's affordable in the sense that it's under $5,000. So, and they think that their family will like the theme. Most don't seem to be biting on that. One of the distributors I talked to told me, at least that they hadn't been yet 24 hours, but that the first day the pin sales of this Jurassic Park were 2.
Ooh.
2 units. So it's not, these don't have the same hype that operationally, commercial grade machines get, which again, given who they typically sell to, not a surprise, but, so, I don't know. Do you have thoughts on how it will sell or on the pricing or?
The pricing it makes sense with what has happened to the pricing overall. But the fact that it is in the realm of, what pros used to be is just painful. Especially to people who know, what it was. We'll see how it does. With the sheer amount of issue they have getting tables out right now, getting machines out right now, I don't understand the purpose of putting out this game at this time.
That is an excellent, and that's the other, I'm glad you brought it up because that's the other big thing that actually you want to talk about complaints about Jurassic Park, the pin? It hasn't been the layout. It hasn't been the rules. It has been, what the heck are you doing, Stern? I'm still waiting for Mandalorian. That's what it's been. It's like, why would you do this when you are so far behind? And it's extra, I guess it's extra salty with this, Tony, because there are people that are as unfair as it may be going, what? This is a toy. Why are you not prioritizing the real pins?
The real
pins that you are supposed to be making. Like, you come out with this and you're already so far behind. And I get it because I understand that some of their production decisions may be, hey, we have these parts so we're able to do Deadpools and we're missing this other part so we can't do Mandalorian right now. So I guess there's some world where they have the stuff that they can do Jurassic Park Pin and not be able to do Godzillas and Mandos or whatever. I don't know. It's all weird because they're so far behind. And I did hear an interview on Final Round, Pinball Podcast with Zach Sharp, who does marketing at Stern. And he sort of acknowledged it sounded like the main issue with why do the pins keep coming out has in part been different parts come in at different times. We're able to keep building certain machines when we can't build other ones that might be a higher priority, coupled with what I had, I think a lot of people had suspected was licensure agreements. Like we have timelines on the licensure agreement. So there's still this need to announce and release so that we can have our production time be what it is. I wonder, with seeing this and the reaction and just how far behind they are, I'd like to know your thoughts. Do you think Stern's strategy is that they think eventually they're just going to catch up to these like thousands and thousands of orders and just keep doing what they're doing? Or have they already taken steps to maybe slow up on license acquisition so that eventually they'll slow on the releases where there's not that pressure in order to make sure they're catching up on everything they've already done and then start to resume like the 3 cornerstone cycle?
I think that's a very real possibility. I also, it crossed my mind while we're sitting here talking about it, am wondering if the pen if they weren't able to get more, call it locally sourced or easier to locate parts for it. So it's something that can be put together even when they can't get the stuff. So it's something to keep a line going.
Right.
No matter what. I mean, using MDF.
That might be a good example.
I mean, if the mechanics are something that can be sourced without having to have it might just be something that can be thrown together.
Sure. And maybe because who knows what if the delays are on getting plywood, but maybe there's plenty of MDF because it's used for less stuff. And sure, possibly. Most of the components are identical to what are used on the main games, like, pop bumper assemblies and stuff. So,
but you would think that line would be that component line, since it's so standardized, there should be
like they've got bags of them everywhere.
Right.
And that might not be the shortage. The shortage just could be like the particular toys, and maybe they're using a different toy builder to make the T-Rex head here versus the toy builder who makes the static, not moving Baby Yoda. I don't know.
Yeah, that's just...
But regardless, people are pissed. Just like they were pissed when Godzilla got announced if they were waiting for something else.
Right. But Godzilla makes, to me, more sense because it's a full-up machine.
Right. Now, I would be less pissed about this game because I don't think, regardless of what I've heard, I don't think it sells that many compared to what they've been selling on the operator grade side. Just because most collectors, if it doesn't have a coin door with coin mechs, it's not a real pinball. And I just think
it's just a weird.
Okay. I mean, it's like because it's again, I just think that's the roots of the game. The game was meant to be operated. It's been a criticism of other. It doesn't even have a real coin door. I mean, just a criticism people have, and I almost think it's a somewhat arbitrary threshold. Some of it could be the sizing, the OCD types. Zach Minnie, for example, he's really obsessive, in my view, about wanting games. Like, I think he organizes his rooms so that all the lineups are such so that the games are all the same level and match. So this is a weird shape. Well, no, so not a weird shape. It's different size.
Right.
In fact, one of the TPN members that I know has ordered this Jurassic Park pin. It's also been trying to source a cabinet because they want to swap it and put it in a full-size cabinet. And I don't think it's OCD in their case. I think it's a just because project. They want to see if they can do it. Because the playfield's regular full-size Stern playfield. So.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, anyway, but congratulations to Jack. I hope there'll be some at Expo so I could get a chance to play it.
Yeah, no, that's hopeful.
Because it'll never be routed. So my only real hope to play it is at a show. But I mean,
you're not buying one?
Unlike a lot of collectors, I could see myself getting a pin style pin, but not at 4,600.
Right. See, and to me, that's it. I almost wonder if it's not partially them trying to get something back in at that old pro price point.
And that could, part of their logic could be, hey, this will resonate with the Dennises of the world that remember that, have the member berries of Pepperidge Farm style and remember 5 years ago, 6 years ago, getting games pros at this price. Could work, but, there are other things like, I don't know how easy is it to service. I know some of the stuff is top mounted because MDF has issues with taking and putting screws back in and out. I mean, it uses spike, and I'm sure it is serviceable, which is something that the old pins had an issue with. But it's like, here's the other thing. The thing that people, cheapos like me, always remember is my money isn't just for the new market. I can look at the used market. And even though prices have gotten way high on the used market, there's a lot of pinball I can get for under $4,600.
Yeah.
A lot of pinball. And maybe the rules are basically the same depth as Jurassic Park Pin, but it's full grade, commercial, real pinball, historic, legacy stuff, well-known, easy to service style thing, So, I mean, we're talking like most of the Data East stuff is all available at that price point from the 90s. I think you could get a lot of the B tier and below Williams games at or below that price. It's just, that's the competition for it. Again, for a home buyer who doesn't want to worry about old electronics and all of that or know about that, this makes more sense than someone like me who would be like, you know what? For $4,600, I would absolutely consider a pinball machine. But there's more than just Star Wars and Jurassic Park that's at that point at this stage that I could. I mean, heck, I just got an email from Pinside, an automated email on Friday. Someone was selling a Lethal Weapon 3 for $2,600. Everybody dance now?
Oh, yeah?
I'm just saying. There's a lot when you're willing to consider used. And most collectors will. So I don't know. Last pinball topic I have, just a quick one. Jersey Jack Pinball. We talked about, I believe it was the last episode we talked about that they had achievements released via the Scorebit platform, which they have integrated into their games at this point for Wonka. And I was all like, why didn't they do GNR? Well, here are the achievements of GNR. So I guess
there you go.
Guess. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a friend.
They're like, oh man, he's so smart. Why didn't we do that?
No, they're all like, oh, Dennis wants it. Let us give him what he wants. I don't know if that's going to change my opinion of GNR, but I think it's smart that they got achievements added to that game as well. So kudos to Jersey Jack. Now, Tony, we can go into video games. Are we going to open with something happy? Like optimistic?
Is there happy and optimistic? I don't think I have anything like that. I literally didn't put anything happy or optimistic in this.
No, it's sad to say that this is almost what I expect out of you now. It's just like this cynicism dripping list of video games.
It's kind of where I am right now.
Sorrows.
I see things that spark joy, and I'm just like, no.
You're like that person. I was like, does this bring you joy? You pick up an object. You're like, does this bring me joy? Yes. Trash.
Exactly. That's where I'm sitting right now. Or I open with what's probably the biggest thing that's happened in the last 2 weeks, in my personal opinion, the Twitch hack.
Oh, now this is kind of good because it's been very informative.
It's been very informative. It's been interesting.
Yes, interesting.
It's bad for Twitch.
Oh, it's terrible. I didn't enjoy having to change my password.
And now they claim that you didn't have to because the passwords weren't compromised. Though apparently the seeding for the two-factor was in it. But this was a major hack. They released 125 gig worth of data.
Did you download all of it?
No.
Oh.
I didn't even get a chance to download the parts that I probably should have when it first came out, just so that I could have talked about all of it. But it included source code for all versions of the Twitch. I mean for the Xboxes, for the consoles, for mobile, on the computer, with the comments in the code. They really everything. It included streamer payouts since 2019, and let me tell you, it's getting hard to find that stuff. They're smacking that stuff down fast.
And that was the one part I looked into because that was the interesting part.
Yeah. They've had information in there on Amazon's competitor for Steam that has not been released yet. All of their internal security tools were in there. A lot of their internal services were in there. It's pretty impressive. I think the big thing for most people is going to be the streamer payouts.
Oh yeah,
from an entrance level. Number one,
your favorite
is it's the one I watch. It's one of my comments. It's Critical Role. They made $9.6 million between August of 19 and October of 21. And remember, that doesn't include biddies.
No.
That doesn't include donations. That doesn't include merch. That doesn't include Patreons or anything else.
It might include bits, actually.
I thought they said it did.
I'd have to go back and check and see what the columns and the data were.
Because I thought it was just subscription payouts. But it could include bits. I'm not positive.
And actually, I looked at something. I think I looked at something on Critical Role, and not all of their columns had numbers. So maybe in their case, it wasn't there.
It's possible.
Because almost all of theirs was subs.
Yes.
Because they didn't have very much on ad revenue, if I remember.
They don't run ads.
Oh, well, that would explain why I didn't see anything.
Yeah. I don't actually watch Critical Role on Twitch. I watch it on YouTube. And that should be a thing that shows how big Critical Role is. The fact that they simultaneously stream on Twitch and YouTube when they put out a new show live. It is available on both.
Oh, they have permission to do that.
Yeah, that's how big they are. Their only rule is all of the YouTube stream doesn't have chat or comments when it's being shown live, which is fine because I don't want to watch chat. That's why when I actually watch it live, I watch it on YouTube because I hate Twitch chat. And then number 2, XQC is number 2.
I guess, well, I've seen some of this in pinball too, so I shouldn't be surprised at just how far toxicity can get you.
Apparently, 8.4 million. And just to round out the top 3, Summit was number 3 at 5.8 million. So there was quite a drop off there. Mm-hmm. Some of the other interesting things I saw was considering all of the complaints and stuff that has been online over the years about, let's call them, what is a nice word to use for our current thing? Skin showing streamers of the female variety, the ones who are playing the Maxim and FHM Laddie Mag style stuff. They weren't in the tops. I think you had to go down into the 20s or 30s to find.
There's no money in flesh anymore.
But it's. I think it's painful for Twitch to have had this information out.
Why?
More because so much of their internals are out. From the people I've seen and the reports coming from the comments in the source code, there's been a lot of stuff learned about not just this, but other hacks that have been learned from comments about stuff in the source codes.
Okay. So you meant broadly. I thought maybe you were meaning that you thought that the financial data.
I don't. I work for a government. The financials being known doesn't.
And that's where that's where it's interesting to me. If I don't think there's going to be any real big change ups, quote unquote. There might be some people that will look at some of the. I'm sure there are a lot of naive Twitch watchers that had no idea that it was this volume. For example, I could see some people going, I'm not going to give my Twitch Prime to Critical Role anymore. They don't need it.
Yeah.
Let me give it to someone else who's not making over $1 million a year.
Right.
Yeah,
which is what I do.
Right. I could see that. I could see some people going, I had no idea that XQC was pulling millions of dollars a year. Maybe I'll support a different streamer of mine instead because they're not making nearly as much money.
Yeah, because I've always used my Prime sub to support smaller streamers that I watch because I watch a lot of niche streamers. Now, to be fair, it turns out one of the streamers that I watch that I have supported, I mean, I never thought he was a niche streamer. He had way too many subscribers for that, but he's still like 25 or 26. Admiral Barhu. And I've thrown Twitch to him when I was watching his Satisfactory streams like daily for a while when he was doing them. So I'd thrown my Prime to him at that time because I kind of move it around. But no, I don't think there'll be any major repercussions from that.
Yeah, unless some big, and I hadn't read anyone that's noted this, so I don't think it's been an issue, but it'd be like, unless there was some big streamer that was like feigning they weren't getting a lot of money in than they were.
Yeah, I've not heard of anybody.
Most just don't
like
talk
that.
about it.
Yeah,
but I mean, again, coming from, I'd been governmental for like 16 years, and we were just, it's a standard. You knew how much everyone made.
Yeah, it's just known. It's out there. It's. So to me, it's nothing. Doesn't.
How many millions does pinball make, Tony?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the bigger pinball streamers. Most of the pinball streamers make under 500 a month.
Yeah.
Even the largest, other than Dead Flip. And I will say that was pulling less than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of pinball people have sort of rallied behind Dead Flip as the first and just give them a lot of subs. But I could see why it would be interesting to, or maybe thinking about doing let's design pinball machines. You'd make more money.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is some of these people like just insane amounts of money, but then also some of them, when you, like I saw a thing talking about Critical Role, they made, $9.6 million. But when you factor in the size of their company, where they're based, their level of production and everything they do, Twitch basically pays for like their rent and their salaries for their employees. Has been what a lot of the estimates have been, because they use full up high grade movie quality equipment with cameramen and sound crews and their staff. They've got a staff of like 50, and none of them are making below union scale for their positions. So that alone over 3 years would eat most of that money, combined with renting a large space in LA, because that's where they're based out of. So it's just interesting, because not everybody's just making games in mommy and daddy's basement, or streaming from mommy and daddy's basement.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I probably have been able to make more if I had used mirrorless cameras.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because then the vampires would appear, and you wouldn't just look like you were talking to yourself all the time. But no, going on from the Twitch hack, and what I think is a fairly interesting thing is EA might be rebranding FIFA. I
saw a headline about this, but I didn't read the article.
Oh, what it amounts to is their current deal with FIFA they run 4 years, basically a World Cup.
Right. Okay.
Around.
Makes sense.
And they've been negotiating for the last 2 years with FIFA for the next round, and FIFA wants to more than double their licensure fee, which will move the cost of using the FIFA naming rights to $1 billion every 4 years. And they're also wanting to put a bunch of restrictions on what EA can do, like to monetize the game outside of just general game sales because of their naming because of the naming.
Oh.
And it gets more interesting because if EA dumps the FIFA name They still get to use the players and everything because that's a separate licensing deal that has been signed with the union.
Oh, especially with that, I definitely could see EA entertaining it.
Yeah.
$1 billion is an awful lot of money for a name.
Yeah, I mean, because I
know they make a ton of bank on FIFA, but
right, but I didn't write the number down. I should have, but I want to say the current licensure is like just under 500 million for every 4 years.
Here's the thing I would run through my head is let's say you were FIFA and I was EA, and now you're thinking maybe EA isn't going to pay up. Like, who are you going to find that would give you $1 billion? Anyone?
Right.
Because almost everyone else might have to design the whole game from scratch.
Right. Well, and depending upon how EA's deal with the players union is, even if FIFA found somebody else to do it, those people might not be able to use actual players, likenesses, and names because that's a totally separate signed deal with a separate group.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Because I thought because at first I thought $1 billion for likenesses and names and all of that stuff and everything. It's like, okay, I can see that with them, but knowing that those are two separate deals with two separate groups, I don't see why EA wouldn't want to just walk away from it.
$1 billion.
$1 billion for 4 years. 4 years.
I mean, wow. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm not normally someone to side with EA, but I don't think you should pay them $1 billion. This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous.
Especially with them trying to put other restrictions onto the stuff on top of it. So we'll see how that turns out. It'll be. I'm kind of interested. I'm really interested in this.
It's always interesting to see a good sports game shake up. It's been a while since we've seen a good sports game bloodletting where different companies are going to have different control over who can say what. And then on top of all that is which ones actually have the better games, which used to be, we used to see that sort of conflict. What was it with the basketball games and stuff? Yeah,
there were like 3 or 4 different basketball games at one point in time. And it'd be, I mean, I don't care that much for sports games. I used to play some of them, but
I don't regularly play any. The one I most commonly play actually is a sport I never watch, and that's tennis.
Mario Tennis. It's a me,
a lob. No, you didn't voice him right. It's Chris Pratt now.
Oh, that's right. It's Chris Pratt now. Oh, I don't have
Blue Luigi. Don't bite me with your serve. I trained you. I raised you like I'm your mom.
I raised you like I'm your mom.
I'm Star-Lord.
Oh,
they call me Star-Lord. They call me Star-Lord because I get all the invincibility stars.
Oh, man. Now I want to see them redo Passengers, but with Peach and Mario in the places. Okay. And now, to end it on what is yet another sad note.
Blizzard! Do it.
I didn't include it in the notes, but
include
there is
it.
Blizzard
Journey
news.
towards the dark side would be complete.
Fine, I'll leave it for last. I wasn't going to do it.
I know, but there's been stuff. There's been stuff. All right, what's your non-Blizzard stuff? Oh, it's your other favorite.
Avengers has decided they're in such a good place financially, and the game is doing so well that they're going to break their promises to only have cosmetic monetization. And now you can use real money to purchase XP boost and in-game item boosting. So, the stuff that they promised when they released the game, the stuff they talked about in 2019 where they literally said, I promise no pay to win.
Now, because I remember a few episodes ago, probably more than a few at this point, you talked about how they were worried everyone was leveling too much.
Yes, that was back in March.
Okay, wow, okay. I do remember that because you're like, because at the time I was like, it's like if they want to reduce the leveling, it's a fair. It's across the playfield, so other than the people that were already leveled up,
right.
who really cares? But
yeah, they reduced it back in March, and now you can pay $5 and get that XP level back to where it was.
Oh, do you think that they think, hey, we pulled it off with Final Fantasy 14. We're Square. We can save this, and they're just like trying really hard, but it's not the same team, so they don't know what they're doing.
It's entirely possible. Or it could just be that they're just grasping at straws at this point. Because the game doesn't have the throughput they thought it would have. It doesn't have the player base they thought it would have. It's just what can they do to maintain the viability of the game at this point.
And I guess pay to win, they think will do it.
We'll find out.
Or at least maybe they'll get some whales to help fund the expenses that the game has incurred. I don't know. Okay, well, that's strange.
All right. So back to Blizzard. Well, I was just going to leave it alone.
No, you weren't.
I was going to have an episode where it's not there. It's not even in the notes, man. Look,
I know it's not,
but
I could see it in the invisible ink.
All right. So here we are. The state of California complained that EEOC's settlement hurt their case and set a bad precedent.
Right.
And then the EEOC came back and was like, well, you guys have a conflict of interest. And the conflict of interest is that the lawyers leading the California suit had been originally working for the EEOC on the Blizzard investigation that led to the settlement that the EEOC just did with Blizzard. And then they left and went to California and filed this suit. Which is going to just really make things interesting once it gets to court in California.
Yep. Things have been all along this, I think, looking really bad for Blizzard. But now I'm like, when I saw about this, I was like, this one. I mean, maybe Blizzard has a point that California's going more aggro than they should have because there's this agenda tied to the attorneys.
Yeah, and that is one of the claims that Blizzard has put out, and EEOC seems to be supporting that.
I did think it was really weird for California to basically be telling the feds, hey, don't settle on this other topic.
Yeah.
Because we think it's hurting us. And it's like, and again, I'm not an attorney. On the surface, I was confused. I'm like, why would the settlement hurt you? If any, you wanted, I guess, because they wanted more stuff to come out in the court in discovery or something, but the settlement in and of itself is an admission that things needed to be improved. Right. So I would have thought, if anything, it'd be like, look, even they settled the EOC, jury that look, they know they done wrong. They done wrong.
But yeah, no, it's going to be interesting.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's
very obvious Blizzard has done wrong.
Oh yeah.
Now it's starting to like, is California going harder than they need to?
Yeah. Did they have they for reasons related to either whatever was going on with those attorneys, and like it could be, I say it one in a couple ways. One is, do these attorneys know something because of what they used to do, and they're now trying to pursue it through California now that they work for California instead of letting the feds handle it?
Right.
The other thing is, during the course of their investigation with Blizzard, do they just like have a grudge against Blizzard because of how Blizzard behaved with them when they were over with the feds, and so now they're like, we're going to take our pound of flesh.
Which it very well could be, because
or
humans
maybe all
are
of the
humans.
above. It's so exciting.
It's so exciting. Tried to have one episode without Square.
Yeah.
Or Square without Blizzard.
Yeah.
But no. Maybe next episode. Because next episode's due out
at Expo. TX.
So next episode might be a little late.
Might be.
We'll have to see.
I'll bring my recorder in case we feel like trying to do that.
Because I know we talked about doing some like little record sessions and stitching stuff together.
Yeah, we might try after the. I mean, it just depends. We've always talked a good game internally about that at Texas, and every single time it's always like, I'm too tired. I've had too much to drink.
Yeah.
We're driving back, and there are people listlessly walking in the middle of the highway that I almost hit, and I can't bear to think about hooking up a recorder now because I've gone the backwards ways through Oklahoma instead of the interstate because Google Maps decided, hey, he wants to avoid a toll road. No, I didn't want to avoid a toll road. I want to avoid drunk people who stand in the middle of the highway.
I want the fast, easy route.
And then everyone in Oklahoma's never seen LED lights, so they're flashing at me. So let's pull over and see if there's something wrong with it. And while I'm doing that, the pickup truck near the passenger side can offer Tony drugs.
Hey, man, you need some blow? No, I'm good. I'm real good right now.
But anyway, so we will be back in 2 weeks, possibly not right on the Sunday. We'll see. But until then, I'm Dennis.
I'm Tony.
And goodbye, everybody.
See ya.